Welcome back to the Joust About Careers podcast, where you can learn about careers from people who are actually in the trenches every day. I'm your host, Brian Brott, and I'm a career advisor and English teacher at Van Buren High School who wants to see all people make good career and life decisions. This episode features the highlights of the interview with Justin Tiell, a UX UI developer for Betco Corporation. The highlights focus on what a UX UI designer does, the value of being self-taught versus earning a degree, why it's important for designers to share their work, and the skills that are essential for someone entering this career field. If you like what you hear from Justin and would like to learn more, you can always watch the full interview. And if you find this podcast useful, please share it with someone else who could benefit from it. Enjoy the show.
Yeah, so UX and UI, they get kind of like combined a lot, but they can basically be separated as well. And I think UI is like the one most people are most familiar with. That's user interface, right? So like when you use your apps and stuff, that's the buttons, that's the colors, look and feel. And then UX is the user experience. So that can be many things from, how fast does the page load? How do people feel using your app? Even to things like, Disney World, a good example of like they've perfected the user experience from when you get there to your little armband saying your name to, how they do the ordering for food and stuff like that. So generally they're combined a lot, especially like in the web world, because your user interface is basically a user experience and you want them to both be, well designed and well developed. And so my role typically is, I basically build the apps. So a lot of the times I work in a small enough company that I will end up starting the design, in a mock-up, getting reviews and some tests there. And then I go into the code and develop the final product. Especially for development, like you have to learn it essentially on your own. You can take courses and stuff like that, but to get good at it at all, you basically have to like really kind of teach yourself, spend hours looking at examples or trying to figure out something that's causing an issue. And so I think school, like usually when we had the programming, especially web development, I didn't really quite learn that much in the classes. So I kind of flew past those, but I really did learn a lot of like design, and VCT was very helpful. It's visual communication technology. And it kind of gave you a jack of all trades mindset coming out of there. So I could edit video, I could do Photoshop, I of course could do the websites, just had a better idea of like fonts and design and stuff like that. So that's what I more learned from college, was the design parts of things and like how it all fits together. And again, like I can just kind of open up a video editor and edit it, even though that wasn't what I thought I was going to be doing someday. So. In the beginning, a lot more time with people, asking questions, trying to figure out what we want to solve, what problems people are having, where the pain points. And so whether or not I have access to the final users, or I'm interfacing usually with like marketing and how they wanted to display their product. So the beginning, a lot more like in the mock-ups, getting feedback quick back and forth. And then once we kind of agree on the mock-ups, I can go into the code and spend a lot more time alone in the code, getting that ready for people to review then. So yeah, if you're going to be a UX UI designer, then like that's sort of a different path. And that's a bit more of like getting really pixel perfect designs, really getting a lot of information about how to like do user testing and that kind of thing. And where I've been focusing more is the development side. And I think like HTML, especially if you want to do like anything web-based, HTML and CSS are like a must-have. Like you need to sort of understand what those are, what they're doing. And then at least for where the technology is now, like JavaScript's kind of like your base thing to start learning. Get really comfortable with JavaScript, and then a lot of other frameworks will kind of like fit in. So like Next.js is a framework. There's like Svelte. I don't know if Nuxt is actually a framework, but there's lots of frameworks inside the JavaScript ecosystem, and it gets kind of crazy. But and if you're not necessarily going straight into like web development, really just picking any language and just learning it really, really well will make it so you can go to something else a lot quicker. That's the main thing I realized as well. It's like, don't keep jumping around to different platforms. Make sure you kind of pick one and like stick with it and learn it really well, because all of programming's techniques and stuff can be pretty cross-relevant to things. I think, especially in design classes, the most important thing was to like basically never accept your first results. So especially in design, there's a couple of times where they would make you draw like a mock-up like 100 different times. It just to get you real, like one, to like, you start to get new ideas, but also like your first few are always basically pretty bad. And so never getting too hung up on your own ideas, and always willing to be like start over, start from fresh, come at it a different way. Like I think that's the main thing that I use quite a bit in my day-to-day job, just because the world's changing so much. You can't just keep latching on to what you did before. You can use like lots of social medias, Instagram, depending on what, especially if you're doing like design work, a lot of those work out really well. Like there's one called Dribble. For code, like GitHub's your main one, I think. The other thing you can do, like it's pretty easy, especially if you're going to web development, you should have a website. I don't think mine's great, but I do have one that I use to get my current position. But like, I mean, it's an easy win. It's easy to kind of get up there, just have something on the internet to show that you can do what you're saying you can do. But the one thing to start doing is like start sort of, if you want to be, especially like UX, UI developer, perhaps start to build a portfolio. That's like the major thing. Either, even if it's just like mockups, you didn't build any sites, but you're still like creating mockups, or it is like you're coding things. GitHub's a great place to sort of like store your code so people can see it. But I think starting a portfolio is like one of the most important things, because people always want to see some sort of example of your work. I think mostly like curiosity. I don't know how many times that I'm like looking over people's shoulders, how they use phones, like not trying to be a creep, but like really just curious of how they use it. What are they like? What are they doing on it? How easy it is for them. Also collaboration, again, like you're going to have a bunch of people giving you feedback on your designs. And so you kind of have to either be like, I don't say thick skin, but be willing to accept different edits and stuff to your design. Like you can't have it can't be your baby. It's everyone's. You're all working together on it. And lots of research, especially when you're developing, like you're going to run into issues. You've got to find ways to get the answer. And I think like, yeah, empathetic too, because like, again, like you want to put yourself in the user's shoes. How are they going to be using the app? Like, because again, like they're not going to be sitting in an office in a perfect condition. They might be out on the road with low latency, or on an older phone, or just, you never know what they're doing. So you need to kind of think about that part of the side of the experience. Just, enjoy the ride, like, and yeah, don't take everything too seriously, but plan for the future, because you're probably gonna have a future, and you need to make sure that you're ready for that as well.
Thank you for watching and listening to this episode of the Joust About Careers podcast. I hope you learned valuable information from this career story, and to be sure you don't miss upcoming episodes, please click subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform so you'll know when the next episode is released. Thank you for watching, and as always, this is the place to go to learn just about careers.